Hey everybody. I just woke up and I decided to slap some makeup on my face and talk to you because about a month ago I put up a Facebook post because I was generally feeling very upset about just the way that the life of a musician is perceived and how difficult it is to get to any kind of feeling of success. I know that a lot of us who are in the same boat, are in the same industry, are very hard on themselves, and I'm no stranger to the feeling of wanting to give up, um, or asking myself, what am I doing? I could use my intelligence and my creativity for something that I would have a better chance of making good money and a good life for. So, time and time again, I ask myself, why do I want to be a songwriter? Why do I want a band? And what's in it for me? And am I willing to fail? Do I still have the possibility of succeeding? What's in my way? Just a lot of confusion, a lot of questions. And so I wanted to address that to you because so many of you responded to me with great advice, great suggestions, some of which I had done, some of which I hadn't. And I wanted to share a couple of things that people said to me with you because I actually ended up trying it out. One of the things is to sign with a PR agency, and the other one is to go on tour. Now, disclaimer, neither of those things were done to the extent of me being an expert. I mean, in terms of the PR thing, I was signed to a boutique firm for a little under a year, and with the tour, it was a short northeastern stint. We only had 5 dates booked, but we did end up going to a festival and playing there on a big stage in front of hundreds of people. So I just wanted to share all that with you because if there's anyone who saw that post and was thinking, God, I wish I could get that information, I'm of the opinion that we should all come together as a community and help each other grow. And if someone has something to share, it can only help. I mean, those that feel that certain information should be held close to the heart and not shared with everybody, should just keep in mind that everybody has their own path to success, and what could be helpful for one person could not work out for another, and it's really about carving your own path and finding your own way. And so I think that being generally helpful in the sentiment of helping each other is just going to help everyone grow. So I wanted to share these two things with you. Okay. So the first thing is a PR agency. Now, I know that the prevailing sentiment for emerging musicians is that we should find management. And backtrack a little bit, what is management? What does it mean for someone to manage a band? Well, it depends what you're asking about. Are you talking about managing the business aspect of it? Are you talking about a personal manager? Are you talking about a tour manager? So a manager can potentially do a lot of things, especially if it's a smaller company or a bigger company. But the gist of having a manager is that they're able to organize gigging events, and they are your mouthpiece. They speak on your behalf. They are the ones who manage all of your contacts and get in touch with them if something needs to happen. They also are able to schedule and help you monetize your business. So what's important, and what I think a lot of us are struggling with, is how do we make our art lucrative for us in a career setting? Because the thing is, you can't just be an artist if you're the person selling your art, you have to be a business person too. So a manager will help you with that, because they actually went to school for making sure that all the elements that go into putting out your art work well together, so that they're going to be making money. So a manager will bring all these different elements together, whether it's marketing, whether it's promotion, booking, all these elements. They're going to be bringing in all of these contacts to help you build a team of people who can help you sell your music, sell your art. So having a manager is, for many people, an important part of them getting to the next level. However, it can be elusive as to how to find one. And the truth of it is that in this day and age, you won't be approached by someone who can manage you unless you've already done a lot of the legwork yourself. So it's kind of this catch-22 of, you're not going to be ready for management until you do the things that a management company would do for you. So it almost asks the question, do you need management at all? I would answer yes, because at some point when things become larger than life, you just can't do it all yourself. But what I've learned is that there are a couple of things that are really time consuming that you could have help with. And one of those big things are promotion, PR, public relations. So what I did is I signed with a small boutique firm, which no longer exists actually, by the way. And otherwise I would have given you all that information. So I signed with this agency, and basically what they did is they consulted with me at least once a month to ask me what it was that I wanted to build a campaign for. And over a 3-month period, we would create that larger goal of what we wanted, whether it was more Facebook likes, or to promote a big gig that we had, or to have our new music released on some big news press publications. So we would come together and make a solid goal, and then spend a considerable amount of time, anywhere between a month to 3 months, and for sure, for bigger tours and stuff, you want at least 6 months to promote. We would work towards those goals. Now, here's the thing. People will say that if you didn't meet all of your goals with your PR agent, that they should go screw themselves, that they weren't good. But the truth is, building credibility and visibility takes years. It really does. Because you have to show consistency in a product. You have to continuously be shown in several different places over and over again before people get the urge to actually click and listen and care. One of the biggest things I learned is that you can't really overdo it. You should really try and expose yourself to lots of different outlets, lots of different communities, different social media. Don't be afraid of social media. From a business perspective, it's a necessary thing to grow with the way that we're going. And I'm talking about this from a do-it-yourself perspective. I know that there are some artists out there who really just don't feel comfortable promoting themselves, and that's fine. But in that sense, it makes more sense for you, after you're spending time on your art, to look for people who could potentially take that burden off of your shoulders of doing those little things for you, like promotion. So for me, I feel that I love promoting myself, but I'm not always so good at it. So that was the biggest reason that I decided to sign with a PR agency. They had those contacts that I didn't have, that I desperately needed and wanted. Does it ensure that you get your stuff on the Billboard magazine or Rolling Stone? No. But then you have to think about it in perspective. You have to grow as an entity. You have to build yourself from the bottom up as someone of interest. You can't start at the top. You can't start at those dream magazines and dream venues. You can't say, if I sign with the most expensive agency, I'm going to be able to immediately play at Madison Square Garden. That's just not how it works. You need the fan base to do it. Otherwise, you can book Madison Square Garden, but it'll be empty. And what's the good of that? So it's the same thing with promotion. You don't want to start big. You don't want to start with those big, relics, under the radar, Billboard, all those big magazines. Because the truth is, even if you got a feature article about your band in one of those magazines, it wouldn't catapult your career. Maybe you get some better Facebook likes, some attention, but it'd be short-lived because really it'd be an isolated thing that happened to you. In fact, that's actually happened to my band a lot, where we'd feel like we had a great break because we had a big thing happen that in industry terms was really conducive to success. But the thing is that it was isolated. It was one thing, and it never really catapulted and naturally turned into kind of like a windstorm of things. So what I want to tell you is, you have to be patient. It takes time, and you need to know what is your weakness as a product, as an organization, as a band, as an artist, and ask for help from a professional. It's so important that at some point you let go of all the control and you give it to someone who either went to school for it or is just a freaking genius at it. So that's my 2 cents about PR, especially if you're trying to promote something that's going to come out, like new music or something. It's important that you hook up with people who know how to sell you, who know what to say and know what people to say it to. And I think that will help. One press item is not going to change your life, not even a slew of press items. You could have a really well and very visible album release, but you yourself need to keep it up in all other realms. You need to be profitable, because if you don't make the money, you won't be able to continue to hire the people who are helping you, first of all. And second of all, at some point, if you get recognition all over the place, you're going to have to tour to those places. Otherwise, what's the point? So you need to make money. It all comes back to that. And that's, to me, the most frustrating part, because I live in New York City, as you all know. So that brings me to my next piece of advice, was that I should tour. Now, I have some great news about that, and some bad news. The great news is that you can make a profit on tour. I know that there are a lot of people who say that it's very difficult to do that maybe it's not even worth touring anymore because it's so expensive. But you have to keep something in mind, which I've already been saying. You have to think of yourself as a business. You have to think of yourself as a professional, and the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you decide where you're going to perform should be reflective of that. So I went on a small tour with 2 other songwriters. What we decided to do is learn each other's music, namely Valerie Reaper and Christopher King. We learned each other's music, even learned new instruments we didn't know how to play, like bass and cajon. And we toured combining all of our music into one set. Whether it was a 1-hour set or a 3-hour set, we combined all 3 of our music together to make a kind of collaborative songwriter in the round band project. And the reason that this ended up being a lucrative idea is because not only were we pooling our fans together for these performances, but we were pooling together a much larger stream of revenue through merch sales. Because instead of selling one band's CD, we sold each of the songwriters' CDs. And we even made a deal with the audience where if they bought all 3 of our CDs, they would get a discount. And a lot of people thinking, wow, I get to buy 3 CDs for $15, just jumped at the chance. And we made a bunch of money. So in terms of touring, I would say the first order of business is expect and plan to make a profit. Do not take gigs just for exposure. It's important to play in new areas, but there's no point in playing in new areas if you're going to play to the bartender. So you need to do a little bit of research, hook up with musician friends who have already toured, hook up with musician friends who live in other cities, and ask about natural draw. Now, what I mean by expecting to make a profit, sometimes some gigs will not make a lot of money in terms of guarantee, although you should certainly ask if that's a possibility. Sometimes just merely asking can weed out those assholes who just don't really care about the artist getting paid, or those who are kind of selective as to which artists they do give guarantees and which they actually give a percentage of the door. You can always barter for a percentage of bar sales. If you're bringing out a small crowd, that's something to definitely put out there as a suggestion. So there are two ways that you're going to make money on tour. One of them is to actually make money from the door if you actually have a small following there, or if you don't, to make money from a guarantee. Now, that's something that actually does happen outside of New York City a lot. So that's why I don't feel like people should get too discouraged. It's easy to feel that way in New York City because there aren't very many venues that do that. But you should definitely look into a lot of the cafes and places that really set up their whole environment towards a listening environment instead of a bar environment. I think we see a plethora of bar situations in New York, but not necessarily too many Rockwood type situations where it's really focused around the music. And as soon as you leave New York, there are all kinds of situations like that. So I think that's your first step, is to try to find a way of ensuring that you're going to make some kind of minimum amount of money at each gig to pay for your expenses, whether it's gas or tolls or hotel. And the other way of getting paid, if you can't do that, is, again, making sure that you're playing places that have natural draw, but then really being kind of savvy about how to sell your merch. You need merch. It is a proper investment to make, that you either have recorded material or a link to recorded material physically available for people to hold and take with them. Let's say that you didn't actually print out CDs yet. Even having a download card or some kind of postcard that gives a link to your music is so important. You need people to physically be able to hold some piece of that night, because even if it gets lost in their bags, they're going to find it again in their pockets or their wallets, and they're going to go, oh yeah, that was a great band, I should check them out. And you lose that. You lose that virility that you created in that night if you don't have anything for them to take home with them. Most of the profit that we made on tour was because we sold merch. And because we actually combined our music together, 3 artists together, we made probably around 3 times the profit we would have made if we had gone on tour by ourselves. We all crammed into one car. We all put all of our equipment into one car, so we only had to worry about one car's gas tolls, all of that stuff. And we chose 2 gigs that we knew were going to pay some good money, and the rest of the expenses were paid for by some of our merch. So I just want to say that touring can be successful if you're smart about the money aspect, because that can be in some ways the most stressful part of it. You can put on a great show, but if there's no way that you're going to be able to make this happen often, then even the fans you make in Philly or New Jersey or Pennsylvania, somewhere else like Bethlehem, we went to a festival there, you're not going to be able to grow that fan base if you're not going there more than once a year. and you'll only be able to go there more than once a year if you're making a profit on tour. So, with that all being said, I hope this was helpful for you. If you're interested about the songwriting project I was talking about that I went on tour with, we call ourselves Kings and Queens, and we actually have a website up that I will leave and link down below. And if you have any other questions or comments about what I've said, please let me know. I'm really curious to know what you think about what I've said. But I guess all I want to leave you guys with is hang in there. It's difficult, but I know that in terms of answering the question, what am I doing? It's living my life as authentically as possible, and I know that I wouldn't be happier doing any other thing than expressing my ideas and thoughts and hopes for the world through music. So, to me, living authentically and being able to eloquently express these emotions and ideas with others, that means the most to me. And I'm really thankful that I have some great friends and colleagues who get that and who appreciate me for that. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening. And please respond if you felt that any of this was helpful. Thanks.